Hi again, this is Andrew with LangWatch, one of the lead developers with Scenario, and today I'm going to be talking a bit about testing voice agents. So if you go over to the Scenario documentation, it talks a little bit about how to set up Scenario and set up all the configuration required for setting up the Scenario framework and getting your test up and running. And then the testing voice agents part of the documentation, it talks a little bit about the different types of tests that you might be setting up, whether it's audio to text or audio to audio. But in today's example, I'm going to be talking about the voice-to-voice conversation tests. And so it talks a little bit about how that works here in the documentation, but I'm going to jump in and show some code. So the big part of today's demonstration, it talks about handling the recent upgrade to version 5 with Vercel that no longer really supports the direct voice capabilities that is provided through the OpenAI API. So the things that I'm going to show you are wrappers that, but also really show how flexible the scenario framework is to allow you to really handle any sort of conditions or different implementations that you might need to set up your scenarios to work the way that you need them to work. So here I'm showing just the first setup of the agent. So this would be your agent that you'd be testing with your scenario. So there are a number of different ways that you could potentially set this up, but specifically in this case, we are using the OpenAI voice agent wrapper here, and this is just a custom wrapper that, it's a custom class that I've written to be able to handle the transition from Vercel's modal messages to the internal chat completion shape that OpenAI would be expecting through their API call. So the call method is what is specifically expected for the agent adapter to work with the scenario framework. And as we move through, you can kind of see what's happening internally here. But this is the core bit here. If Vercel sort of supported it natively, then we probably wouldn't need this step. But this one step basically is saying, okay, take the modal messages that are the model messages that are available through Vercel and convert those directly to the OpenAI messages. And then with those messages, we are going to be getting the response directly from the LLM. And then this is just handling that response for just basic logging purposes. So I can kind of walk you through this, but here, this is just utility function that I've written that will take the model messages and, like I said, convert it directly into the chat completion parameter that would be expected by OpenAI. That's relatively straightforward. And then the responding with audio, again, is very straightforward in that it's just calling the OpenAI instance, the OpenAI client that we have with the specific configuration for audio. So this particular model will support audio and the different modalities, and then passing in the system messages. So then we go here, also we have the handle response, and this is really just outputting the different responses, the transcripts of the different responses into the console, just so we can kind of see it happening in real time. So now we have our agent that we're going to be testing. I'm going to call it the agent under test. To find, we'll need to do the same thing with the user simulator agent. So the user simulator agent is going to be the agent that's going to, as you guessed it, simulate the user that's going to be interacting with the agent that's going to be under test. So in this particular example, you can see the system prompt. You're playing role-playing, curious user looking for information about AI agentic testing. This basically has the same sort of internals that I just showed with the other agent. As you can see, it is extending the other class. And then here, the only little gotcha is that because normally the agents that you would hit when you would go to an LLM inference point, it would come back as an assistant role, but we have to reverse this role, basically saying that, okay, this is actually a user because it's going to be simulating the user. Aside from that, it's pretty straightforward on the internals there. And then here is a nice feature that we provide in Scenario that will let you group all the tests that you ever run with this particular ID together. So just for really easy tracking purposes through our API and through our UI. This here is just a simple setup for an output path, because what I'd like to have is the conversation be built into an actual audio file that then we will then be able to listen to at the end of the test. So, opening up our describe block. So this is written in vtest in JavaScript and in TypeScript, and we can see here we have our user simulator, we have our actual agent, and we have our judge. And the judge is required for Scenario to be able to judge the conversation and see whether or not it happened as expected, whether or not the agent performed as expected. Again, similarly to the others, we do need to override this little call very simply. It is just sanitizing these messages, and that is a little script here that is going to strip out the audio and transcribe it using Whisper behind the scenes. This is simply because the agent for the judge is a bit more complicated, and it doesn't have the simpler ability to just swap out OpenAI API calls directly with Vercel. So here we are just having a simple script that is going to take that message, all those messages, transcribe them, and pass it to the judge for evaluation. Really, the audio to audio is happening between the two agents, and then the judge is evaluating the transcript. So now here, also quite simply, this is our scenario. So we're describing the scenario here. We have the name, we also have the description, we're passing in our agents. We have our audio agent, we have our user simulator, and we have the judge. We're going to go just for 2 turns. So this is actually going to be 1, 2, 3, and then 4. And then it's going to grab the context right before the judgment and save the audio for us. So in the context, we have all the information that's part of the state of the scenario, and within that we'll have access to the messages with the audio as part of it. And then so we judge, in the final step, we judge the scenario, and then here we are checking to see if the scenario passed with a success, and we're going to be outputting the results. With the ID here set up within Cursor, I can actually just push this button here, and it will run my test. So as you can see here, it's actually having a conversation. So this is the user simulating agent reaching out and contacting the other agent. And this is the first response. And again, this is the transcript of the conversation that is happening behind the scenes. This takes a little bit of time, so we're just going to watch it now and see what happens and what kind of result we get. Great. So our scenario is finished running. And as we can see here, this is the result of our test in the console, all printed out. It shows the success. It was true. So it was a successful scenario as far as our criteria were established. And so you can see here, this is the transcript of all the different messages. And the reasoning, the conversation flows naturally with the user asking questions and the agent providing detailed, relevant responses. That was the conversation flows naturally between user and agent criteria that I had set in my scenario. So you can see when we had defined the judge, this was the criteria that we had said would make it a successful scenario. If we scroll up, we can see we have a lot more information provided, but nicely right here we have the full conversation here that we have saved. And if I click this, we should be able to hear the conversation.
Hey there. What's on your mind about AI agentic testing? I'd love to learn more with you. Sure. Let's dive into it. AI agentic testing is all about evaluating how AI systems that act autonomously perform in various environments. It's a bit different from standard machine learning model evaluation because you're not just checking accuracy on a fixed dataset, you're looking at how the AI makes decisions over time, especially in dynamic or open-ended scenarios.
So as you can see here, right, it's just it's playing a bit in the background,
AI doesn't go off track or
but you
do
can see
unexpected
it's
things when the
following
situation
along.
changes. What aspect are you most curious about? Are you thinking about the technical methods or more the conceptual framework around it?
That's really interesting. It sounds like it covers both how well the AI performs tasks over time and whether it's safe or reliable when the situation changes. I'm curious about both parts, but maybe we can start with how they actually test the AI's decision making over time. How do they set up those dynamic scenarios? Great question. Testing AI's decision making over time often involves simulating environments where the AI has to interact, adapt, and make a series of decisions. These environments can be either fully virtual, like simulations in a game-like setting, or real-world situations, like robots navigating an environment. For virtual environments, developers create a range of scenarios where the conditions can change, like introducing new tasks, obstacles, or goals partway through. By doing this, they can watch how the AI adapts or struggles. They also
And it goes on, but as you can see, this is showing how Scenario can test a voice-to-voice conversation between users and your agents and evaluate whether or not your agents are handling the conversation as you would expect. Again, this is Andrew with LangWatch. This was Scenario Voice-to-Voice Agent Testing. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Please check out our other ones. Please check out the documentation for Scenario to see how flexible and all the different ways that we can use it. And check out LangWatch to show how you can use the traces and all the information that's been created as part of this to be able to optimize your prompts, optimize your agents, optimize your workflows, set up your guardrails, set up your evaluation, set up all these different things that LangWatch really provides to bring you from the initial concept of your AI product all the way to a confident production experience. Thank you so much and take care.